There seems to be sort of an archaic revival going on with this interest in orthodoxy, and I think even your popularity online with this seeing the world through these symbols, through these mythological symbols, religious symbols, because and you know, it stands in contrast, like you said earlier, to this very like scientific approach or deductive approach, defined approach of like strict scriptures as this almost like rule book, rather than this fantastic story, which they are. TikTok, you know, there's like this common memes and stuff. I mean, with younger people in general, like witchcraft and alchemy and these sort of like, you know, different characters and roles people play. And you talk about chimeras, and maybe that's part of it, right? What do you see kind of unfolding, or what do you make of like these avatars, these virtual avatars, and these sometimes personas we adopt and portray? That I feel like people are returning to more interpretive views as a good.
No, you're right that that's what's happening, and so you can understand it like. I mean, what we're noticing, what we're experiencing is a breakdown of the modern scientific materialism. It's like it's breaking down around us. And it's happening to a certain extent from within science. People are realizing that there is an aspect of even the material world which engages consciousness to a certain extent. Right? And so even if it is just the manner in which we categorize things that present themselves to us, like the fact that we have names for certain types of agglomerations of facts, means that these names and these identities that we recognize in the world happen through this consciousness. So that's definitely happening. At the same time, so what we're seeing is kind of like, as this cracks, you can understand the scientific materialism as a kind of solid bubble that was put around humans, where, you know, all this is ridiculous, you know, God is ridiculous, angels are ridiculous, all these ideas, all these rituals are all ridiculous, you know, all these things that we do, these prayers, it's all ridiculous, all of it's stupid. And then it's like, well, okay, then we move into that to a certain level until things start to fray and things start to crack, because we realize, oh, wait a minute, we don't have rituals. Why are we together? Why are we a country, or not just a bunch of people living on a piece of land? Like, why are we a family? You know, and so you realize, wait a minute, no, these identities are not self-evident in scientific terms. You have to bind together with common means of attention, you could say. So this is happening. So it's like, this is something that's happening all over the place, but it's also happening in a kind of dark way, which is that if you think about the shape of any being, any identity, of a nation. A good way to describe it is, let's say, how the Greeks perceived themselves. This is usually how I describe it. So the Greeks had the umbilicus mundi. They had the navel of the world in Delphi. They actually had a place with a stone, this like magic stone that was the belly button of the world, and that's superstitious and it's crazy. Okay, well let's play it out. Let's say. So the Greeks had this, and they had something like a kind of ecumenical world where they recognize other people as sharing the same belly button of the world. They had the same language, they worshiped the same gods, they had the same rituals, they participated in the same mysteries. So they recognized each other as being one thing. Then as you moved out from that, you had strangers, people that aren't part of your group. At first, the strangers you encounter, they are somewhat like you, the Persians, right? They're a civilization. Maybe they know a bit of Greek, so we can exchange. But you keep going further and further out. The further you go out, the stranger things become, and the more idiosyncratic they become to your perception. So if you imagine, I don't know, a Greek guy 1,000 years ago countering an Australian bushman, they can't recognize that. There's nothing to recognize. Like, they're so different from you that it's all idiosyncratic and broken down. That's represented in like ancient maps as monsters on the edge of the world. You have these beings on the edge of the world that are chimeras, that are mixtures of categories that don't fit. And when you meet something that doesn't fit in your category structure, the only way to deal with it is to say it's a mix of this and that. There's no other way to do it. Okay, you know, a Greek person sees a hippopotamus. They don't have a category for hippopotamus, so they say, well, it's like a horse, but it lives in a river, so it's a river horse. It's like it's a chimeric structure. It's a monstrous structure. So that is how we encounter the strange. about how the natives in South America, when they saw the Spaniards, like coming down from their boats, wearing armor, sitting on horses, like never seen iron, they never seen metal, they never seen horses. They looked at this being and they're like, this has 8 legs and it's shining, glowing in the sun, like it's a monster. What else could it be? So you could say it's superstitious, but that's an actual perception of reality. As we move further and further out into kind of breakdown of our identity, what we're seeing is chimera appear in front of us. People who desire, who wish to embody strange, who wish to embody the exceptional, the mixture, the places where things don't fit. Sorry, you said aliens?
Yeah, the people who embody the alien, the androgynous.
They embody the alien, and so it looks like furries. It looks like okay, it looks like body transformation. It looks like people who are confused, have confused or mixed gender. It looks like all the things that we're seeing now. Basically, it's like we're on the edge of the world, right? But it has to do also with this increase in moving out from ourselves into technification and into let's say relying on the exterior in order to make us stand. So all of this works together. It's like you're moving away from your inside out into technical things, out into blah blah blah, and at some point you're like, wait a minute, I thought this was going to give us a rational, solid world, that is utopian and this beautiful science fiction utopia. And what you find on the edge of that is sadomasochism and furries and like crazy things that have no sense, and cannibalism and people eating feces, and that's what you find on the edge of that, because it's like that's where it breaks down. So I think that now people are like, wait a minute, like this isn't what we ask for, like what's going on? And some people are kind of going along with the ride, but at some point it's going to get a lot weirder, and it's already getting like really weird, like when cannibalism starts to be a subject that people talk about as if, oh, we need to break that taboo, like break the cannibalism taboo. Really, like, do you think, what are the next, like, then it's going to be incest, then it's going to be bestiality, but it's already, bestiality is already there in the idea of this kind of furry avatar that is appearing. It's like this mixture of human and animal. So it's like this is really the image that we see in this story before the fall, in the story of the Book of Enoch, right? The idea of the sons of God and the daughters of men, like these two things that don't go together, that join together, and that bring about end of a world, basically. So think about it. It's like it's all fraying on the edge. It's all it's in the fringe. It's all breaking apart. So that really is what we are. But at the same time, it's an opportunity because it is breaking down the solidity of the scientific materialism. So it's an opportunity to speak into that and to hopefully help people see the world is more than just matter. The world is more than just these scientific categories. And if you disregard that, you're going to end up, it's already happening, you're going to end up with like a gender fluid furry god. People are going to worship it.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
They're going to worship that. No. But it's already almost there. Like we're almost there. It's right. It's right at our fingertips, we could say.
Yeah. Well, we can see it. We can see this aesthetic already, that we're talking about with, okay, like think about Grimes, for example. She's this leading figure of culture, of music, of artistry. And well, she looks more and more like an alien as time goes on. And I don't think that's just a coincidence. It says something about the dominant culture and where it's going. But
you see, like the cyborg is related to this, right? The idea of joining with the machine, joining with the animal, joining with kind of non-human creatures, whether it's angels or demons or whatever. Like all of this aesthetic is going to become more and more pervasive as time goes on. Well, there's going to be reaction to it, and there's going to be backlash to it, but it's still going to keep getting weirder for a little while at least.
Do you view this as is this something beyond culture, outside of culture, or is this a cultural byproduct of technology?
It's a playing out of a narrative. It's a playing out of a certain perspective, and okay. It is this Luciferian perspective. See it that way. It's a playing out of thinking that we can grab things and contain them completely for ourselves. Like we can take this fire and we can make it ours. At first it works and we think that we've got it. And then because it's disconnected with the transcendent principles, then it starts to get weird and starts to fray and it starts to break apart. It starts to get mixed and confused. And then what we do is we compensate with authoritarian measures, because those two things go together. And that's also one of the things that's important to always remember. It's like, it's not just the crazy, like furry God. It's also the hyper insane levels of tracking and control that are being instituted at the same time. It's like the vision, the final version of that is like, you being whatever the hell you want in the metaverse also means giving everything about yourself up to whoever is managing that.